Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And wasn't that an awful audition from the Minister for Defence?
Minister, just leave the chamber quietly, please, folks.
By the member for Canning. I was delighted when I saw this MPI. I've been begging for this MPI. Unfortunately, governments don't get to set the MPI, so I had to wait for the Shadow Minister to bowl this up, because it allows me to spend 10 minutes talking about how those opposite, how the Liberal Party is weak on national defence and have been ever since they were founded. And so I'm very delighted. But let's start with recent history. Let's start with modern history. Let's start with their record when they were in government. When the Shadow Minister was the Assistant Minister for about 5 minutes, what did they actually achieve? Under the Opposition Leader, 28 major projects, 97 years late. 28 major projects, 97 years late, and $6.5 billion over budget. $6.5 billion over budget. And what were some of these projects? The MH-90 helicopter that they decided to buy against defence advice, that can't fire weapons through the door when they're getting troops in and out, had a tail rotor failure, couldn't even have a cargo hook that worked properly, was grounded on several occasions, and was 7.5 years late, now had to be retired. Or the battlefield airlift aircraft that can't even fly into battlefields, a tiny problem. Might have been a tip in the name, can't fly into battlefields. Or ordering patrol boats where they used faulty Chinese-made aluminium prone to corrosion. Or ordering supply vessels where there is not even safe drinking water for the sailors. Just think about that. Imagine if the Defence Minister, which the Opposition Leader was at the time, where he couldn't even procure ships that had safe drinking water for sailors. The truth is they couldn't manage a project to save their lives. And they like to talk big. They were great at announcements. We remember the Top Gun announcement at RAF Williamtown, which was brilliant. But the truth is they were big on promise but hopeless on delivery. They added $42 billion worth of spending commitments to the IIP but added zero new dollars. $42 billion of new promises, zero new money. Or $12 billion in cuts to the defence budget since 2016. $12 billion of cuts. And the most dramatic one, they like to claim AUKUS. I saw Nemesis last night. It was literally the only thing the member for Cook can claim as an achievement in his life. But tiny problem. They announced AUKUS. How much money did they allocate to the biggest national endeavour this country's ever undertaken? How much? $300 billion? $200 billion? $100 billion? Zero. Not 1 cent added to the IIP for AUKUS, the biggest undertaking in this nation's history. That shows how deeply unserious they are about defending this nation. They had 6 coalition defence ministers in 9 years. Goldfish lasted longer than coalition defence ministers. They had 23 ministers and assistant ministers in the 9 years. 23, including my 2 favourites. One lasted 51 days. The second one, the excellent member for Riverina, I love him, is doing a great job as the Shadow Minister for the Pacific, 75 days. 75 days. So if we want to talk about weakness, if we want to talk about commitment to national security, those on the opposite side treated defence as a joke, and we saw the results. What about projects of concern ministerial summits? Essential to getting projects back on track. Across their 9.5 years in government, they had 4 ministerial summits to get projects back on track. Four. I've had 5 in 18 months. 5 in 18 months. They did 4 in 9.5 long years. So, Deputy Speaker, the truth is their record is incredibly weak. And they're also being incredibly mendacious and inconsistent with their application of big issues. They're criticising us all the time about our decision to focus our naval assets on the Indo-Pacific. They're criticising us all the time. The Shadow Minister put out a bizarre media release that talked about all feathers and no meat. Must be a bizarre sort of Canning saying. There's only one problem with that. He was an assistant minister in a government that said no to a similar request. We found out today that in early April 2022, he was part of a government that was requested to send a ship to the Red Sea as part of the Combined Maritime Force. And what did they say? What did they say? No, we need to focus on the Indo-Pacific. And I tabled the ABC News report that demonstrates the hypocrisy of those opposite when it comes to things like that. So, Deputy Speaker, this is a ridiculous debate by those opposite because they have no credibility on defence. By contrast, we are increasing defence funding to 2.3% of GDP. We've announced significant procurement reforms that the ANOO in their recent major projects report said is making an impact, and released a Defence Strategic Review which charts the course forward. The truth is, Deputy Speaker, only Labor can be trusted on defence, and you just have to look at their record throughout their entire existence as a political party to show how weak they are on national security. Because this MPI, as the terms are, is about weakness. It's about national security. It's about who you can trust. And the Shadow Minister talked about weakness ad infinitum. Well, let's talk about weakness of those opposite. Let's talk about a political party started by Bob Menzies, a man who in August 1939 blocked expansion of the army. August 1939 blocked expansion of the army. If you want to talk about weakness in national security, what did he do in September 1939? 10 days after Hitler invaded Poland, Bob Menzies sent a letter to our High Commissioner in London arguing that we should appease Adolf Hitler. He said they should carve up Europe, they should give parts of Africa to Italy, they should give parts of China to Japan. And here are direct quotes from this letter from Bob Menzies. Nobody really cares a damn about Poland. 10 days after Hitler invaded Poland, and actually argued that down with Nazi government was wrong, was quite indefensible, and it was up to the German people if they wanted a dictatorship. And I tabled a letter from Bob Menzies to Stanley Bruce that shows that he's advocating appeasement of Adolf Hitler 10 days after Poland was invaded. And that continued. Their party continues to be weak on national security throughout their entire history. They took us to Vietnam on a lie, where 523 Australians died because of a lie that they wanted to win an election on. They took us into the Second Gulf War on a lie, because they wanted to take us to another election where they wanted to win an election. It's all about politics for them, because ultimately they are weak on national security. They love a khaki election. They love their Top Gun moment, but in the end they will use the troops for political props that can never deliver for them. And you just look at the opposition leader's record. 97 years cumulatively late for 28 major projects, $6.5 billion over budget, spending $114 million on a naval shipbuilding college that trained zero workers. By contrast, the Albanese Labor government is investing record amounts into defence, Each year of our forward estimates, we spend more on capability acquisition and sustainment than any government in the history of this country. Every year over the forward estimates, we spend more on the Australian defence industry than any government in the history of this country. And over the decade, we will increase defence spending to 2.3% of GDP. We've actually funded AUKUS. We've actually funded the nuclear submarine enterprise. We've actually funded it and we're delivering it, and the early investments are flowing. We're training sailors now in the United States. We're training defence industry workers overseas in this endeavour. We're making significant reforms to defence procurement because we do need to improve what we deliver for taxpayers' money and increase the speed of getting things to the ADF, getting vital equipment, because we take it in a calm, measured way that delivers for the troops, that delivers for taxpayers, that doesn't have a revolving door of ministers like we saw under that deeply silly government we inherited this situation from. A government that was obsessed with political props rather than delivering for the troops. And in the end, like their predecessor coalition governments, They'll be condemned by history for their weakness on national security and their inability to prepare our nation.